They called out to David, and as soon as David entered the room, the oil came out in a miraculous fashion out of the bottle of Shmuel and flew in the air. Along with David, both of them meeting. And everyone knew David became the MaShiach HaShem. But guess what? Sometimes, even if Hashem has a person born in that high level and puts them in a position to be the greatest leader the world has ever seen, they could ruin it and lose it all. One of the examples we have in the Torah is the brother of David HaMelech, Eliav. The Sefer, Remove Anger from Your Heart, brings one of the most extraordinary stories you're ever going to hear. Where it talks about, it brings the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, where the Gemara says that Eliav, the brother of David, he was the oldest brother. He was beautiful, smart, tall. Everything was going for him. In fact, when Shmuel the Navi, came to the Yishai's house with the mission that Hashem sent him to go and put the special oil on the next king, he didn't know who the next king was. But Shmuel was a prophet. Gemara says Shmuel had the highest level of prophecy, aside from Moshe Rabbeinu. In his generation was something unbelievable. I've also learned at some point that Isaiah had the highest level of prophecy aside from Moshe Rabbeinu. But needless to say, Shmuel was like something out of this world. His righteousness, and he got certain privileges that even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get, where Hashem would speak to him at places that he wouldn't speak to Moshe, because Shmuel sacrificed himself and went from place to place, whereas Moshe Rabbeinu was with Am Yisrael in one place at all times. Either way, Shmuel did not know who the next king is going to be. He knew that Shaul was the king. Hashem no longer wanted Shaul to be a king, and he said that the next king is going to come from the family of Ishai, one of his sons. Shmuel comes into the house, and as soon as he sees Ishai's oldest son, Eliav, he thinks he is perfectly fit to be the next king. He's beautiful, he's tall, he's smart. He saw much more than the physicality aspect of it. He's a prophet. And he took out the oil to put on him to see if he's the next king. And miraculously, the oil disappeared, as if it was never there. And he knew that Hashem did not choose him to be the king. Later on, when David came, after all of the brothers were not designated to be the king, were not chosen to be the king, and the oil wouldn't pour on any of them, they called out to David, and as soon as David entered the room, the oil came out in a miraculous fashion out of the bottle of Shmuel and flew in the air. Along with David, both of them meeting. And everyone knew David became the MaShiach HaShem. And from him will come Mashiach. But the Chachamim ask, why wasn't Eliav chosen to be the king? This has major ramifications. Not only being the king of Am Yisrael, but the Mashiach coming from him. The Mashiach was originally supposed to come from Eliav. That's what the Gemara says. He was originally supposed to be the guy. It's not that Hashem always chose David. Originally, Eliav was supposed to be. But he lost it. Why did he lose it? He got angry. His character trait, weakness of anger, lost him the choice of being the king, the position of being a king, the position of being the grandfather of the MaShiach. Here in the Sefer, Remove Anger from Your Heart, he brings multiple sources, one of them being the Gemara Masechet Pesachim, page 66b, along with other Chachamim, like the Lev Eliav, to discuss this monumental story of how Eliav was literally created to be someone that was going to be the next king, but he lost it because of a character flaw, a character weakness of anger. So we see from here that, as the Chazon Ish says, some people are born into these special families. They have these natural inclinations to do good. They were born very high. And they're very special. But it doesn't mean they automatically reach their fullest potential. They still have free choice. They still have a very, very big battle. And usually much bigger than everybody else's. Just like their position is great, their potential is great, their obligation is great, and their downside is great. We are meant to be a light unto the nations, not to follow their misguided practices. Remember, every Jew has to remember that he's a Jew and she's a Jew. We don't celebrate non-Jewish holidays, even if they seem harmless. It's a zilzul, disrespect to the Torah, and could lead to Chilul HaShem, desecration of God's name. Stick to our holy Torah and our own holidays. That's the path of a true Jew.